Pilots, welcome back to Motion RC. You're here with your pilot Ryan. We have the B-24 on the bench. What I want to show you is my trick for calibrating these ESCs all at the same time. Also, how to restore factory defaults. And I do want to illustrate how the brake can be set by accident, and also how to turn it off either by the brake function or just by resetting factory defaults. And then we'll finish up with one more time on the ESC calibration itself. So check it out, it's pretty easy. You should really do this with the props off. I'm gonna leave them on and be very careful because I do want to illustrate to you the brake function. So you don't want the brake on this aircraft. So anyway, this ought to help some of you guys. Any of you having trouble with the ESC programming, this is a tip on how to get it all to happen at once. Otherwise, you'll never make sense of the beeps if they're not armed at the same time. All right, here we go. All right, I want you guys to see my trick for getting the engines to all sync up at the same time. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the radio on. Now, here's the big trick, is to unplug the throttle lead from the receiver. So coming out of the whiteboard into the receiver, there's the throttle lead. It's unplugged. You can leave the BEC the way it is. This is assuming you've already bound the plane and all. Now you just want to sync it up. So I'm going to go ahead and get this back in position, but it's not plugged in. It's just ready to go. It's not in, it's just on standby. Alright, so here we go. We're going to set the brake inadvertently again. Plug in the flight batteries. We have our throttle lead not engaged in the receiver, so we're going to enter programming mode all at the same time, which really helps to decipher the beeps. They're not really that hard to understand if you have the right manual in front of you. It should be a 22-step manual, but you're only ever going to need the first 8 to refer to, really. So okay, program mode. Again, we're going to ignore the first set of 4 beeps. First set of 4 beeps. Throttle calibration. Here's the brake. Okay, fine. We set the brake. Unplug the plane. Plug things back in. Verify that the brake is set. Careful. Okay, brake will be set. Yep. Set on all 4, just as expected. What we're going to do now is back to programming mode. So unplug the flight batteries, unplug the throttle lead from the receiver so we can get all on the same page with the program function. Flying for the day, it doesn't matter, but setting the ESC, it does. And again, stage your lead so you're ready to go when that time comes. Okay. Radio on. Stick up for program mode. Throttle lead not plugged into the receiver. Flight batteries on. I'm going to talk through the menu, and we're going to restore factory defaults, which will eliminate the braking being on the motors, and then we'll verify that that in fact is correct. After that, we'll calibrate the ESC and we're done. Now, you got power, but you don't until you push in the lead. So carefully push this in. Throttle calibration. Brake. This is a battery type, nickel metal disposition. This is also battery type, lithium. Protection threshold for low voltage, low. Middle. This is the high protection threshold for low voltage. The next thing is what we want. Okay, you heard it chime up and down a scale, so to speak. That's the recover to factory default setting right there. So by doing that, any inadvertent brake setting or timing messing with or whatever kind of havoc you've created can be remedied. So just like we tested the brake functions out, we're going to start everything over, unplug the flight batteries, turn off the radio. Turn on the radio. The throttle lead is plugged into the receiver, as is always the case out at the flying field, and you're not messing with ESCs. And yes, they beep differently here, but what we want to see is that restoring factory defaults turned off the brake without having to really mess with the brake on or off disposition in the program mode. Brake is off. That's how you do it. So one more thing. So now you heard that they beep at different times when you plug them in the standard manner. That's okay. That's how it's going to always be. But after you assemble the plane, you do want to calibrate these ESCs to get these motors in sync. So the way you do that without having to fight the beeps at different times is the same way we've done every other programming function on the ESC. So unplug throttle lead from the receiver. It's on standby. Go ahead and turn on the radio. Throttle stick up for program mode. We're not going to let it get that far. The first 4 beeps, we're going to shut it down. That's going to calibrate our ESCs. Go ahead and plug in the flight batteries. Doesn't matter which one first. Throttle stick is up. Everything is ready to go. Carefully plug this in, and on the first 4 beeps we're going to drop the throttle stick. That will calibrate the ESCs. It's done. So now, before you test them, go ahead and start everything over. That's how you do it. You really don't have to probably turn the radio off, but I just do. So now we're out at the field, we're flying, we are finally set, everything is done, and the ESCs are calibrated. Throttle lead is in the receiver, as is normal. Now the beeps come at different times, but it doesn't matter because they are still synced up because they were calibrated at the same time. Perfect. That's awesome. Okay, pilots, that concludes our ESC calibration and other programming guide video. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this helps. Any of you have trouble, refer to this. The manual will be updated on the website. It's very easy. And again, do it with the props off. I left mine on to illustrate the braking off and on because it's just hard to discern otherwise. But yes, if you do it as I have shown, where you unplug the throttle lead to the receiver, you'll be able to get on the same page with the beeps during the program sequence of your build. Otherwise, it's just nearly impossible. As you can tell, even after calibrated ESCs have been done, when you plug in the flight batteries, they chime at different times. And if you try to enter programming mode that way, you're just going to have trouble. You're going to set two the wrong way. So unplug that throttle receiver lead and have it on standby. Plug in both those flight batteries, enter programming mode with the throttle stick up, get all ready, and then plug in that throttle lead to the receiver, and everything will be beeping in time, and you can easily discern what those beeps are telling you. First 4 beeps, throttle calibration. Drop that stick, you're done. Now unplug everything and start over to test it. It won't throttle up on you unless you reboot. If you don't get it done in those first 4 beeps, then unplug everything and start over. Or just wait till it cycles back through, which is too many dispositions to wait on. Otherwise, you'll inadvertently set something. If you inadvertently set something, this position 8 with the ascending chime is the restore factory defaults. That'll fix everything you've screwed up if you screwed anything up as far as the brake or other timing goes. This is your pilot Ryan. I hope that helps. I tell you, I was trying to help a fellow over the phone for a couple weeks and finally got it figured out. And we figured out what the beeps mean. So thanks a lot to everybody who's helped on that one. And I hope this video helps you. It's very easy to calibrate these ESCs. And if you do have them messed up, it's very easy to restore factory defaults. But it will be a hard time if you don't do it the way I showed you, because everything's going to be beeping at different times. So the trick is unplug that throttle lead from the receiver and put it in last, so you enter programming mode at the same time on all 4 ESCs. That way you don't fight what you're hearing there. Alright, this is your pilot Ryan. We'll see you next time. Thanks.